Hey, namaste, everybody. Lisa Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach. And today I wanted to talk about some of our most common emotional conflicts and help anybody out there who's struggling, feeling stuck, and who isn't quite sure what is the reason for why they feel so conflicted, move forward in their life. And so one of the things that we have to understand is that all of our actions today are motivated by something that's happened or is happening in the subconscious realm, right? So it's important that we first identify that that which we are experiencing right here, right now, is not the result of something that's happening right here, right now, as much as it is the result of something that's happened to us in our past. And I'm all about helping people wake up, helping people understand what it is that they can do that is within their conscious control. Good morning, McCall from Australia. Love you. Miss you, dear one. Hi, Jack. Hi, Lisa Marie. So a lot of why I am so motivated to do what I do is because I just think there's just so much bullshit going on in this world that we don't understand, right? And for those of us who are seekers and we're on the healing path, many of us have sought recovery purely in the conscious realm or in the psychological realm, and we've negated what's happening to us emotionally, spiritually, in our essence, or we've sought spiritual awarenesses and we've neglected what's happened to us in the psychological realm or in the neurological realm or in the anatomical realm, right? And then we have freaking consciousness to deal with, or the lack of. Joan just said if she didn't see my videos, she would have ended her life. Well, you know what, Joan? I'm so glad you didn't end your life, because life is freaking beautiful. And I don't care how upset you feel in this moment, if you can stick with the truth shall set you free. The truth is that you are enough and you always have been. The truth is all of us are unconscious until we wake up. The truth is that the brain is only working the way it was designed to work, which is to store memories about events as well as sensations, right? So think about, for instance, I just used this analogy not too long ago. You're a little boy and you're in the midst, you're 5 years old, and you're in the midst of watching your mother like torture your sister. You're in the midst of it. And so what happens is your brain has to record like events related to, memories related to an actual worldly event, but it's also recording sensory information. So sensory memory, meaning how did we feel in the moment this event was taking place? So we have ego to contend with, because ego makes us think everything is right here, right now. It's right here, right now. Ego thinks right here, right now, because I can control this cup and this can and that book and my phone and this person in front of me. That's the way ego works. Ego is linear, right? The brain thinks in terms of time and space. So much of what we think is reality is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's utter bullshit. And it just gets me fired up, because we're not being taught information that is true, nor are we being taught information in a way that our brains can understand it and that we can make true change for our life. Absolutely. And that's why I created my 12-week breakthrough coaching program. That's why I write my books the way I do. That's why I create videos, 400 plus, and I make meditations, because it's my attempt to help people wake up to the fact that so much that they think is real is not real, and it's bullshit. Okay. So let's recap. You have this idea, you are 95% unconscious. Okay. But your ego doesn't think that. Hello. That's a conflict. That's a freaking conflict. Oh my God. You are a psychological being. And if you try to heal purely from the psychological angle, you're going to experience a conflict, because you're not going to understand that healing is also technical, meaning neurological, meaning it's going to take time to create new memories and have those memories shunt from the hippocampus, which is short-term memory, to long-term memory, which is the neocortex and the prefrontal lobe. It's going to take time, right? We don't know this stuff. We don't know this stuff. We are taught in terms of our faith. We're taught, and sometimes even 12-step programs, we're taught that your power is outside of you. No, it's not. No, it's not. Your power is within you. The same creator that created my two dogs that are sleeping next to me right now created you, and it's the same infinite intelligence that created the world. Therefore, infinite intelligence is in my dogs as well as my tree and me and you. So infinite intelligence and our higher power is not outside of ourselves, but it's within us. Hello. Hello. So it's just so important that we understand that those of us who are in pain and we're healing, there are reasons. And it's because we are living an illusionary world. We are in the world of the material. And until we learn the skills that we need, because to go inside is what you really have to do. But when you have so much shame and ick and stuff that's not your stuff, like religious stuff that makes you feel like you're not good enough. Well, if God is saving that person from cancer, why aren't I saved from cancer? Oh, he must have a reason. No, no. God isn't picking and choosing. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. This is a free will society. And we get to activate our brain and we get to activate what's happening in our matrix or not. If you are somebody who even understands what the frick I'm talking about, or someone who thinks maybe the power really is within me, you are such a fortunate human being. So fortunate. I'm watching my dad literally like just fade away. He's got no faith in anything. No faith in anything. How hard? No faith in himself. It's so horrible. But is that his fault? Maybe it's not his fault. He was born in the 40s. His mother committed suicide. I get it. His father was an alcoholic. It's not his fault, but that doesn't mean it's not fucking sad. It is sad. It is sad. So the fact that you're here and you're waking up and you get it. This is a matrix and you can interface with this matrix at will and on demand, right? You get it. That is just awesome. I don't care how bad you feel right now. If you can hold on to this idea that you are unconscious as well as conscious, right? That you have an ego that is tied to right here, right now. You have an ego that doesn't want to die. So an ego is in conflict with your spiritual self because your spiritual self, your infinite intelligence within you, knows there is no such thing as death. There's just transition. It's like water. Water can be a gas and it could be a liquid. It could be ice, it could be gas, right? It could be whatever, right? Droplets of water, it could be rain. Water takes on all these different forms, and so it is with the essence that is us. But the ego is kicking and screaming because the ego's job is to make sure that the id has long-lasting, everlasting life. So in order to heal that conflict, that means that we need to milk higher consciousness and be able to have these kind of conversations with the ego that says, ego, it's okay, it's cool. Like, this isn't all there is. There's so much more, right? But the ego is part of, in my opinion, the limbic system, right? The limbic system is the amygdala, the hippocampus, and all our reactions, our visceral information, visceral data from the past that is triggering us and creating sensations in our bodies that override the brain. So now when I'm triggered, I can't think with the prefrontal lobe or the neocortex. I can't think because cortisol, adrenaline is flooding my brainstem and my brain and my body. And my body has this autonomic response system that's just taking over. You have to understand that there's another conflict. You are also voluntary as well as involuntary. So this idea that you are completely responsible for what is happening in your body at any given moment is not true. You can become conscious of what's happening in your body and learn to navigate it and manipulate it a little bit, have more control over it, be more deliberate in your thoughts about what's happening in your body at any given moment, like during a PTSD response. But PTSD responses are part of the autonomic nervous system. You don't have any control over that. What you can learn to do is be more conscious of a PTSD trigger, right? And you can speak to the trigger and speak to your body from a higher state of awareness, and you can soothe the reaction, right? And you can calm the amygdala down so it becomes less sensitive to triggers. That you can do. That you can do. But this is a process. So imagine a little boy watching his mom beat the shit out of his older sister. Trauma. Imagine that it's snowing. Imagine that he has socks on that are scratching his feet or his legs, and he's uncomfortable. Imagine that he's eating pickles, and he's watching. I don't know. He's watching. I don't know. I'm dating myself. Rugrats from Nickelodeon. So he's watching Rugrats. He's watching cartoons. It's snowing outside. He has socks on that are too tight. And in this event, he's watching his mom beat the shit out of his sister. Okay? There's the event. His brain will remember that event. And in addition, it will have somatic memory, sensory information, memory, whatever his physical body is experiencing in the moment, his brain will also record. Fast forward 30 years, he doesn't like cartoons, but he doesn't know why. He doesn't like wintertime, but he doesn't know why. He doesn't like tight socks. He doesn't know why. He's got a thing with socks or anything constricting him, but he doesn't know why. And he hates pickles, but he doesn't know why. Because you are unconscious as well as conscious. And the brain is designed to download information that has been created at time of events. That's the way the brain works, right? So that's the way the brain works. So it's important that you peel back and you understand that there are many conflicts inside of a human being, that when we learn to look at them from a higher state of awareness, we're able to observe them. And remember, this kind of work is not for somebody who just wants to say, oh, my life sucks, and oh, this sucks, and oh, that sucks. This work is not for you, right? This work is for someone who says, I can identify that there's an area in my life that is not working for me. And I want to know what I can do to control that and morph it, right? Because you have the ability to interface with the matrix and produce a positive outcome. And if you don't, whatever you've got stored viscerally, whatever you got going on in the subconscious as well as conscious field, is going to interface with that matrix and mirror back to you what you are experiencing on a vibrational level. So this work is for people who are highly motivated to change, who are excited about the fact that I can change, that you can change, who are, and I can tell you, I think the big difference, the dividing line is somebody who's actually going to have a breakthrough and make it to the other side is somebody who doesn't want to be pissed off anymore. They're like, I'm done. I've been pissed off for a long time. It's kept me safe. And, I've been critical of other people and judged other people and kept this out here and kept that out there, but I'm done. I'm just done. I don't want to be angry anymore. That person, that vibration is going to lead you to deeper and more loving and fulfilling life experiences. But, however, I think that for some of us, who are still angry, we need to be, because anger is sometimes that's all we have to protect ourselves, right? And that's fine. Hopefully, you will get to a place where you're done with the anger. You're ready to let people go. You're ready to say namaste, say what you want, do what you want, smear campaign me, lie, project, vomit all over me. It's fine. Vomit all over the internet about your nonsense. It's totally, totally fine, right? So it's important when we get to a point where we're done, we don't want to hold on to the anger and the fear and the depression. We're like, no more. There has to be more. You can experience a breakthrough, right? Now, we have to understand that everything that you have to go through takes time, because like I teach in my programs, and the next class comes up August 2nd. If you want more information, reach out. The 12-week breakthrough coaching program has been created based on the science of learning, because the reality is healing is about unlearning the bullshit that you learn to believe about yourself when you are below the veil of consciousness in a hypnotic brainwave state. When you were learning to believe things about yourself in the world that were absolutely untrue, and have kept you in bondage and in chains your entire adult life, and unfortunately will absolutely help you create your future, right? So healing is about unlearning what has been done and relearning what you need to know. Okay. So the 12-week breakthrough coaching program is not just a bunch of videos and meditations and journaling prompts and it's all about information. You can get information anywhere. Okay. The internet is flooded with people who are talking about codependency and narcissism. Hello. In the past year, I cannot believe how many people have popped up and are talking about codependency and narcissistic abuse and childhood trauma. Talking about it is not going to heal the current that is responsible for it being recreated in your life. It's just not gonna. I'm telling you like it is, okay? So healing is unlearning. The 12-week breakthrough coaching program I designed because I researched learning and unlearning and relearning. I researched it. So I created a program that the underpinnings of it is based on unteaching, helping you unlearn the shit you learned that has been keeping you stuck. So how that relates to what I'm talking about is that people have to understand that healing, it feels so tumultuous and like we're in a vat of emotional toxic goop, and how am I ever going to get out of this, and how am I ever going to get out of this, and how am I ever going to get out of this, and oh no, I can't believe he said that, no, I can't believe she said that, and I can't believe they did that, and oh my god, life sucks, and oh my god, my mother said this, and oh my god, he said that, and oh my god, my kids are thinking this, and oh my god, my rent is due. This is what it feels like, right? So we have these traumatic events in childhood. We get taught that we're not enough. We're sexually abused, right? We're minimized. We're rejected. Experience abandonment trauma. We have all these thoughts going on in our head, all these feelings that we can't gain control over, right? They're ricocheting inside our head. We can't hold on to any one emotion. And what that does is that we're experiencing so much pain and so much shame. We're slipping into this freaking rabbit hole of craziness. We're actually slipping, right? And what happens is one negative thought attracts another negative thought. Our vibrations are getting lower and more danker and danker. And we are experiencing the law of vibration. We are experiencing a natural law. But we think it's us. We think we suck. We think that we're not enough. We think it's because we're the worst people in the world. We're experiencing the depression because there's something wrong with us. No. What's happening is, I don't know. I'm just going to mute this person because I don't know. I don't know what they're saying because I can't read it. So anyway, what we have to do is you have to understand there's so many conflicts. The ego is trying to protect the id. And so on that level, that conflict creates chaos because the id doesn't know that it's enough. So when you start to feel like you're not enough, your ego can respond in multiple ways. It could project, right? It could project its feelings onto other people. I don't feel like good enough, so I'm going to say she's not good enough. I'm going to say that she's a bitch because I'm afraid that people think I'm a bitch. Whatever. The ego can use dissociation to not feel. The ego can use anger, right? The ego can shut down. There are so many defense mechanisms. Can lie. I never said that. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know why you say I feel that way. I don't feel that way. There are so many things that the ego can do to create distraction from the feelings, the very natural feelings and needs of the id, right? This is all the kind of stuff that we have to become aware of, right? So this is where unlearning, you have to unlearn what has been created in your life so that you can learn something new, right? And so if you're coming at healing thinking that you're going to read a book and it's going to be done, not going to happen because the hippocampus learns quickly, but it doesn't have the ability to keep to store long-term memories. You need to practice healing, right? So if you've been on the healing path for a long time and things aren't happening for you, it might just be because you don't understand some things that you need to understand that can help you actually unlearn what you learned. So before you learn something new, you've got to unlearn what's or at least become aware of the conflict in your life that's making it impossible for you to learn. So I think I want to talk about one huge conflict. When you have been raised by somebody who did not attune themselves to you, there is a great conflict because you have come to bond with the people who created your being. You came here connected to mother through the umbilical cord, and through her being, you were one with her being. Her cells created you. When you feel a big disconnect from this being who's dropped you off at planet Earth and you feel abandoned, right? There's a great conflict. Great conflict. The conflict is, I am human, but I don't feel human. The conflict is, I'm here, but I don't feel like I should be here. I'm here, but I feel like an alien. All very valid feelings because you did not receive from your mothership what you were supposed to receive, right? Huge conflict. But here's the thing. You're also psychological. You have an id. You have this very immature brain system. It's not wired. You just have your senses. You're picking up on all these senses. It's a scary place. So here you have all this sensory information being downloaded, fear, anxiety, terrible, terrible attachment and abandonment trauma. Oh my God, where is she? Where's my mothership? Why can't I attune myself to her? It's not safe, right? So within a few hours, you could be receiving such an overload of sensory information of trauma, right, that it overwhelms you. But here's the thing. Your hippocampus isn't mature yet, so you have no event to tie these emotions to, okay? So it's not your fault if you freaking have a stimulated amygdala and you have tension and anxiety and depression and you don't know why, okay? If you do, there's a freaking reason, okay? It's not your fault because what comes out is a result of what's been put in. Okay, I can go off on a tangent for days just on that subject, days, but I won't. Try to keep it concise because the brain works in, the brain is able to digest and hold on to information when it's presented in short bits. And what you can do if you have the opportunity after you watch this video, take a little nap. That'll actually help your brain digest the information that you've just watched. Do not go from video to video to video to video. Cognitive overload. Healing is a structured process, okay? You can watch video. If you have an aha moment, shut it off, close your eyes. Let it get processed. Let it get processed, dear one. Okay, so huge conflict is you don't think that you're good enough. Conflict, you don't feel loved by your mother. Conflict, but you want to feel loved by your mother. Now, we go out into life and we seek validation. We seek validation because we've never received that validation, right? But here's the conflict. What happens is that we will be afraid in some cases to confront our mothers and to actually let go if in our experiences we have been taught that if we talk about our feelings, a great pain shows up. So here's this big conflict. In order for you to heal, right? In order for you to heal, you've got to learn to accept how you feel, right? But this is the thing. The conflict is that if you associate pain with talking about how you feel, there's the conflict. You can't. Your brain is actually is hijacked by the pain versus pleasure principle. Conflict. You have come to resolve the conflict. When you know that you are enough, right? And that the wounds created around I am not enough have nothing to do with you and have to do with the missing of the mark of the people who raised you, then it's easier for you to be able to get in touch with your emotions. In order for you to get in touch with your emotions, you have to resolve the conflict. And the conflict is, if I speak about my feelings, pain shows up. Another conflict is, I know that I had this conflict. If I took care of myself, right? If I took care of myself, my mother was going to call me selfish. If I got divorced, my mother was going to abandon me. If I loved myself, my mother was going to shame me. If I if I stood up to my father, my mother was going to abandon me. So my conflict was, oh my God, my mother's going to abandon me. My mother's going to abandon me. My mother's going to abandon me. But all of these things that I needed to experience true breakthroughs and liberation were in conflict to my fear of they were in conflict to gaining the attachment to my mother. Huge fucking conflict. Huge conflict. So that's why it's so important here, dear ones, that you understand that in order to break through and to be set free, you have to dig for those conflicts, those psychological conflicts, those conflicts in your beliefs, the conflicts that exist between the conscious and the unconscious realm. Consciously, I want to love myself, but unconsciously, if I start to love myself, my mother's going to think I'm a bitch. My mother's going to call me selfish, right? It's a huge conflict. I'm not aware of that conflict. Here I am in the conscious realm, going to nursing school, getting straight A's, doing what I can to be a great nurse. And then the last semester of nursing school, I have this huge panic attack, and develop this panic disorder. Okay, we have to block somebody. Okay, so just block somebody. Don't like what he said. Anyway, it happens. We get people who say things during live videos that they shouldn't. Anyway, so when I was younger, I had this fear, it was unconscious, that if I were to get to a stage of emotional development or love of self that was higher than what my mother had achieved, I felt that threatened her. I felt that anytime that I did well, my mother gave me the side eye, like, who do you think you are? If I ever complained about something that someone said to me, she would say, well, what did you do? What did you say? If I complained about a teacher, well, you must have done something. So it was like every time I tried to express myself to my mother, what came back was, it has to be your fault. You suck. You're a little bitch. You're selfish, blah, blah, blah. And so there was this conflict inside of me as the inner being that I wanted to come here and I wanted to move forward, and live the song that was placed upon my heart. But even when I wrote the book, when they knew I was writing a book, the whispers that I heard early on were, who do you think you are to write a book? What makes you think you can write a book? Who's going to listen to you? What do you have to say? It was nothing but shame, 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 shame. Because my parents come from lack, never really did anything amazing with their lives. Well, I think they did. They just didn't realize it. But I mean, they never really put themselves out there the way I have, right? They didn't really have that type of a breakthrough. But they were better parents than their parents. So I have to give them that, and my life could be a very different life if my parents drank like their parents drank and committed suicide like their parents drank, when there was domestic violence like their parents experienced and what they experienced. I didn't experience that, right? So my life could have been very, very different. But having said that, it's important that we understand that we are constantly processing external stimuli through the five senses, and I think even through the sixth sense, through what we're feeling. And we are downloading this information, and it becomes part of the subconscious mind. And in order to heal and break through, we absolutely have to resolve the conflicts. We have to resolve the conflicts. And so Take for that said, it took 65 years for me to figure this stuff out. So many lost opportunities, sad. Namaste, say hello, embrace the sadness, and freaking let it go, because life is slipping through your fingers, dear one. Yep, that's sad, move on. Yep, that was sad, move on. Yep, that happened, move on. Move forward, move forward, move forward. Embrace the sadness, give yourself some time to cry, and then move forward. Because for you, for me, the pebbles of sand are falling through that hourglass. How much time do we want to spend, right, not acknowledging the fact that we are powerful creator beings and we can do anything? We can do anything, okay? Try to live in that realm. But from a very rational understanding, the reality is that in order for you to heal, it's technical. Like, There's technical stuff that you have to learn. Like I said, watching video after video is not going to do it. Reading book after book is not going to do it. Our problems are conflicts between the id, the ego, and the superego, between the conscious and unconscious realm, between our past, our present, and what we're creating for the future. What we believe about the self, what we want for the self, but what we believe about the self unconsciously. Tremendous, tremendous conflicts. If you have a conflict that sounds something like, I want to excel and love myself, but if I love myself, my mother's love for me is threatened. Because there are plenty of times where, if we tone ourselves down, we get to keep the people in our lives. So many times, I've coached so many people in my lifetime, and so grateful for it. In my classes, as well as one-to-one, in my events, it's just an awesome experience. We all have the same freaking problems. Really, really true. I don't care where you come from. We all have the same shit. Shows up differently. The particulars are different, but we all have the same stuff. That's why healing can happen, the same way for everybody. So we have all these conflicts, and we have to understand that healing takes place when we resolve the conflicts. But it's important to be able to go deep within in order to find those conflicts, because the shame of what you think is below the surface will keep you stuck. If you think it's your fault that XYZ happened, and if you think that you have bad luck, and if you think that other people are more entitled to have an abundant life experience than you, then it's going to prevent you from going within. Very, very important. So we all come here to connect and to bond and to feel, and the ability, and when we feel accepted by our tribe, then we feel accepted psychologically between the head and the heart, right? And then what we do in the real world, which is the hands, what we give to the world, is in alignment with what's been placed on our hearts. We are integrated. When we come to planet Earth and we are accepted by our tribe and we are nurtured, and we were born to people who are calm and who are stable and have the ability to love themselves. They're not judgmental, they're not condescending, they're not critical. They are people who are full of love. They love themselves and they love other people. They can see differences in people, but not judge them, just discern and turn the cheek and walk away. When you were lucky enough to be born, and I don't know too many people who are, just saying, but when you were born to people like that, then you feel one with the self. There are very few psychological, emotional, anatomical conflicts. The amygdala does not stay highly stimulated. You are not living in the world of survival. You are thriving. You have an imagination, and you know how to connect to that imagination and make it happen in the matrix. You know how to speak it and give life to it, right? But when there are conflicts and you don't know how to connect with the self, because you're still love addicted, still sex addicted, still trying to figure out how to be good enough, still trying to be what everybody else wants you to be, you're not connected. But that's not your fault. So this really is neurological. We've got some wires that are not connected. And thank heaven, with the right knowledge, not just freaking information, because information is not knowledge. Okay? Information is not knowledge. You can watch anybody repeat somebody else's words. Okay? On YouTube, you can read a book that someone else, that is basically the mirror of what someone else wrote. That's just information. Knowledge is different. And when you apply that knowledge and you practice that knowledge, when your brain understands, it makes sense to you, it's in your gut, it's in your soul, and you can act on it and you have faith in it, and then your world starts to change, right? And you do that consistently over time, that is when your world will shift. Absolutely. But when you have the knowledge, right? True knowledge, when you have the wisdom, when you are aware that when you are, I hate to use the word following, but when you are learning from someone whose life mirrors what you want, freedom, right? Abundance, peace, love, integrity, health and vitality, passion. Think about Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins mirrors success, and he was the adult child of an alcoholic, and I think prescription medication also, addicted. His mother was. When you think about someone like Tony Robbins, who put the effort in, that's a guy whose life mirrors back the reality that what if you follow, or if you allow him to guide you and you put into practice his knowledge and his skills, you're pretty much guaranteed that your life is going to change, pretty much. So be careful and wary of people that, your friends, right? Friends are great for giving advice. Look at your friend's life, right? Look at your friend's life and ask yourself, does their life mirror what I want to experience? I think that is so, so, so important. So, so important. The reason I say things like this is because there is a way out. I have made it out. Many other people have made it out. Absolutely. But there are things that you must do and you must understand about the way the brain learns and works. It is not you. It is just your programming. It is just your programming. And conflicts are a natural state of man, right? Because we're unconscious as well as conscious. We're psychological as well as logical. We're emotional as well as rational. We can be. We have a limbic brain and we have a higher brain, but there's a conflict. The emotional brain can very easily become in conflict with the higher brain, very, very easily. That's not your fault. We have the inner world and we have the outer world. We have conflict. We have the self, but in our cells are both mother and father. You are half your mother and half your father, right? Who are you going to honor? Are you going to honor you, or are you going to honor them? And if you're going to honor them, how the hell are you going to do that? There are steps. There are steps. It's overwhelming when you think just with the amount of information that you have about yourself and about life. It's overwhelming. I remember feeling like I was going to disappear from anxiety and stress when my mind dared to say, I have to get divorced. I had no job. I lived in a beautiful house. And I know that sounds awesome, but it's so much easier to think I have to get a divorce when you're when you're not living in a beautiful house, because people judge you. You have a beautiful house. Why are you leaving? My ex-husband did not drink, did not smoke, did not beat me. Right? We went on vacations. We had a 3-car garage. When I heard my mind say, I have to get out of here because I feel like I'm losing my mind here, this person and he's draining life force out of me. Although everything looks perfect, when my mind dared to have that thought, and it was met with, what is my mother going to think? Because I know if I let go of this, she is going to possibly abandon me, because she always did in the past. Anytime I went to her when I was 4 and said, so-and-so did this, what did you do? When I was in 3rd grade and Mrs. Kenny pulled my hair and yanked me off the line, literally dragged me from one side of the line to the back of the line and yanked me, this old biddy. When I went home crying about that, what did you do? Every time I complained about my sister and my brother, what did you do? So the shame, the conditional love, the criticism that came from her. Me, 30, I'm in my 30s. I have a big, beautiful house, a 3-car garage, a husband that she loves, that kisses her ass, that says whatever she wants to hear. I'm going to now, when the stakes are so high, go to her now and say, I have to get a divorce. I know I'm going to hear, what did you do? There's something wrong with you. The fear and the terror that created in my being was enough to make me shut up and make me suck it up for another year or two, and which is why I had asthma and migraine headaches and my hair was falling out and my skin looked horrible. I had rashes all over my body. I had diarrhea. I had an ulcer for a while. I couldn't sleep. I had a panic attacks because there was this huge conflict. I feel this. I feel it. I know it to be true. But knowing it to be true and bringing it out of my hands in the real world means, okay, for some reason, these, hold on. For some reason, I'm putting someone in a timeout. For some reason, gamers say weird things on live videos. I don't know why. But anyway, I digress. We're back. So for me to accept how I felt, right? Psychologically, there was this conscious thought, I got to get out. But below the veil of consciousness was, you can't get out. You're going to experience all this shame by getting out. What is your mother going to say? She's going to abandon you. Your family's going to turn on you. Before I healed my attachment trauma, that was the worst thing that ever could have happened to me in my life, was to be abandoned by my mother, my father, my sister, and my brother. The worst thing. Because even though I was an animated adult, I was still that 1-year-old, that 2-year-old, that 3-year-old that was wondering, where is my mother? Where is my tribe? Wandering on planet Earth, feeling emotionally like I was alone in the woods because I was disconnected from the self, right? So my work brought me full circle to the self. And when I wrote The Road Back to Me, and you can get a copy of my book for free at audible.com, please take advantage of that, okay? Audible.com, you can get a free download of my book. And if you join the membership site, my membership site, which is a month-to-month thing, or you could buy it half off for the year, you can also get a copy for free. But I digress. But when I wrote The Road Back to Me, that was the road back to me. I found myself. And I grew up. I became born again. You know, for so long, I was that butterfly trying to come out of the cocoon. My wings were like stuck, and I was trying to wiggle out of the cocoon for so many years, And then all of a sudden, one day, when I got the phone call that my brother-in-law committed suicide, it's terrible, but it's true. That was the catalyst for me. I was like, I'm breaking through this cocoon. If my brother-in-law knew that he was codependent on my sister, if he knew, if he could make the connections to being the adult child of an alcoholic, if he knew that he was in a dysfunctional relationship with my sister, if he knew that he was enough, if he knew that the power was in him to move forward, divorced, it would be hard, but if he knew he could recreate his life, he could interface with the matrix and bring about whatever change he really, really was determined to focus on long enough until it manifested, he wouldn't have killed himself. That message was stronger than my fear of losing my mother and my father. So that is one of the moments that defined me and helped me break through, right? And I am no different than you. You can break through too, because you have a prefrontal lobe, and you have a neocortex, and you have consciousness. And you have the ability to extend your attention span, and you have the ability to follow a process. So now that brings me to one of the things that I want to offer you guys. I'm actually having a webinar on August 19th. Just checking, August 19th. I'm going to put the link in the description box. And you guys are free. It's going to be live. I'm going to try to get through the presentation in a half an hour so that I can actually answer questions live. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but I'm going to be explaining more about the brain and the learning and the unlearning process, because enough, dear ones, enough. We have to have science interface with spirituality and psychology, okay? The Trinity, the mind, the body, and soul, psychology, spirituality, and Psychology, spirituality, mind, body, and soul. What did I just say? We have to interface. We've got to bring, and science, we've got to bring everything together. You are anatomical, you are vibrational, you are psychological, you are spiritual, you're biological. We have to interface science and spirituality with psychology. We have to bring it all together because you are a multidimensional human being, okay? So take a deep breath if you are depressed. It's not your fault. You know, Einstein says that you can't solve a problem the same level of intelligence that created it. You cannot heal from codependency with the same stuff that's in your head that created it. You need new stuff in your head, okay? You need new stuff in your head. Got to clean out the shed. So if you're depressed, just take a nice deep breath, and that's okay. If you're sad and you're full of anxiety, not a problem. You can change this. You can shift this. And I believe that I've created a coaching program that can help you change that. We relaunch August 2nd. I so hope I see some of you there. It is a 3-month program, and it is designed that way because I want to make sure that you have the best chances of having the material that you learn be shunted to your long-term memory. Why? Because I want you to be set free. I want you to go out and change your life. It's not about me. I'm not there at 2:00 in the morning when you're applying what I'm teaching you. You're doing it, not me. I will guide you. My moderators will guide you, and you will process this information in a way that has been created that works in tandem with the way the brain actually learns. Okay, so healing is about unlearning. Okay, and learning new stuff. So it's time to get a little bit more logical and rational. And I also want you guys to understand that when you are if let's say you were having anxiety before this video, take your emotional pulse. Are you feeling anxious right now? There's a good chance you're not. There's a good chance you're actually feeling better. Do you know why? Because you're using a different part of your brain. When you shift to learning mode, right? When you shift to learning mode, when you make a conscious decision in the free world, free will choice, Alice, wake up. Good girl. Alice is dreaming. When you make a conscious decision to shift to learning mode, your anxiety levels go down, okay? You are literally the conductor of your life. You're either blind running through life and creating the shit that's already been created in your life, not your fault, that other people created, or what you can do is learn to take the blinders off and become the true conductor of your life. So what I'm asking you guys to understand is that when you go from feeling anxiety to just let me accept that I have anxiety, let me see if I can learn something. Let me know what I do, because I'm not very good at math. I go to Staples and I buy these little children's books about math, and I try to teach myself complex math problems, because when I was growing up, there was so much trauma in my life. It was difficult for me to learn math. I just had a very difficult time learning math. I couldn't shunt the information to long term. And I think that's because of all the stress and the trauma that was in my life and in my body at the time. And I was getting bullied at school. Stuff that was more abstract, like science, believe it or not, that's stuff that just came easy for me. Thinking about cells and, life cycles of whatever. That stuff came easy to me. But math, this concrete stuff, just escaped me. And so what I try to do is I challenge myself to learn something new. And that helps me grow a new brain. I also love to explore the area that I live in. Today, go out and go down a block you've never gone down. Change your brain. So, please, if you want, I would love for you to perhaps, join me for this live webinar on August 19th. And hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your questions live. I'm going to show you how the 12-week breakthrough coaching program, it's not just about the information that you'll learn and the knowledge that you learn. It's structured, and it's been created in a way that complements the way you learn, because healing is about unlearning and relearning. and taking new information and making sure it has the best chances of getting shunted to your long-term memory, okay? And that is why a lot of programs, in my humble opinion, and I'm not making this up, this is what my clients who have taken other programs, and I'm not going to mention them either, although I could, I'm not going to. So many people come to me that I've coached and said, I've tried this, I've spent $10,000 on this, $25,000 on that, $80 on that, $200 on this, da, 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 and nothing worked. Nothing worked. Okay? Nothing worked. This works. It's structured. The program is structured and it works in tandem with the way your brain learns. Healing is about unlearning and relearning. And if you can learn to believe that you are enough, and if you know why on a scientific level you are enough, your life will begin to change. Boom, 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 boom. You begin to set boundaries. Boom, boom, because you know that you're enough. But this has to go from a very abstract idea to long-term, concrete, absolute, I know that I am enough. And this is why I know that I'm enough. So, and people are saying that they had problems with historical events. Absolutely. When you were a child, and I talk about this in the program too, when you are a child, right, and you are in a state of survival because your home is unpredictable, or you have not felt attuned to. Feeling attuned to is like being tuned into a beautiful station that only plays classical music, right? When your mother and father have done a really good job, and let's face it, not all even very well-intended parents screw up. I was very well-intended, but I screwed up, just saying, okay? I talk about that in phase 2 of the coaching program. You know, when you become a more conscious parent, here comes the guilt, because you start to realize like how you screwed up, right? So, but that's all part of the learning process, right? And learning how to deal with that type of guilt when it shows up. And that's what I teach in the class. You need coping skills. You need go-tos. You need tools. There's a way to do this. Believe me, hard to believe, but it's true. And so when we're on the healing path and we understand these things, life gets easier. We have to understand that as children, we do have a difficult time learning because our brains are highly stimulated. The amygdala is highly stimulated, and our senses are we're flooded with sensory information. What just happened yesterday? What happened the day before? And so here we are, these little tiny beings, and we're all emotional. We're all limbic. And then the teacher's asking us to pay attention. Hello. We're trying to survive. We're trying to breathe. We can't breathe. We can't think straight. We're worried about what the little boy next to us thinks, or what people think about our shoes that are dirty, or what if anyone's gonna pick us up from school. We're worried about what the teacher thinks about the dirt under our fingernails. We're worried about, is there gonna be food when I go home? We're worried about, is anyone gonna see the bite mark on my shoulder in gym class? Holy crap. These little tiny babies that are in school today, and the babies that we're dealing with so much visceral trauma when we were children, right? Those of us who were being beaten or sexually abused and no one knew it. We're carrying that shit. Are you kidding me? And then we have to go to school and act like everything's okay. And we want to know why. We don't know trigonometry? Seriously? And then call me stupid now. Call me, put me in a different class now. Put me, say that I can't learn. Label me. Come on now, label me, right? Every report card I got says lack self-control. Are you kidding me, lady? Are you kidding me? I was just trying to survive, right? I was being picked on. I was being bullied. My body was raw as a kid. And so anyway, I understand that, right? And I give myself a pass these days. I just know that parts of my brain were not able to be accessed as much as the little girl next to me who had a very stable environment. And it is no mistake. When I look back to the kids that I went to school with that have PhDs, that, want radio stations and work for the Washington Post and very successful people. When I look back and I look at their lives, these were the kids that had two parents come to parent teacher conferences. These were the kids that had loving relationships with their siblings. These were the kids that had their cousins around or lived with their grandmothers. It was obvious there was love there. There was love there. These children felt loved. I can actually see that, and I'm sure that there are exceptions to every freaking rule, right? I would say that I'm pretty successful in spite of never feeling loved. I know my parents love me to the best of their ability, but I'm talking about an attunement. Did I feel loved? No, no, I didn't. I didn't, right? That doesn't mean that they didn't love me the way they thought they should love me. I know my parents cared about me, but they screwed up. They did not attune themselves to me. They were highly critical, condescending. They were cruel sometimes. They hit us. My mother threw everything at me. Anything she could grab, she whipped it at me. She broke a brush over my back. She said awful, awful things to me. Okay. Did I feel loved as a kid? No, 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 I didn't feel loved, but I knew I was supposed to feel loved and I didn't. Conflict. Hello, hello. So today I understand it's not my fault. It's just my programming, and I also finally understood once I made the connection to this idea that I was in survival and I was suffering from abandonment trauma and I was seeking this woman's validation who had always invalidated me anyway, right? I knew that until I resolved that conflict, until I faced my fear of being abandoned in the real world, like in a real way, like fuck Lisa, like we're done with her, which my family ended up doing in the real world. Until I faced that, until I looked at that head on and said, I am enough. And if these people are going to stand in judgment of me and not see me for who I really am, that's okay, because I got me. And I have 3 babies to take care of. And I can't be part of the change in this world if I'm chasing the approval of people who are below the veil of consciousness. I can't do that. I can't do that. So I found a way to go into the pain and come out of the pain. And so I can tell you the first 2 weeks of my coaching program, anybody that's on the live chat will tell you, holy crap, they're difficult. But if you stick with the process, we can get you to have those breakthroughs, and we can get you to be liberated. We can change your brain. I think it's time we take back our brains, dear one. I think it's time we take back our brain. That brain was hijacked by hypnotists. Your brain was in a hypnotic brainwave state, and I say it's time to take your brain back so that you can be all that you are meant to be. Thank you for being here. You